Frank Lucas Jr. didn't just inherit his father's name. He inherited a manual for power, a criminal system refined through decades of violence, money, and adaptation, where Frank Lucas Sr. made headlines for smuggling heroin in military coffins during the Vietnam War. His son transformed that strategy into something far larger, more profitable, and nearly impossible to trace. The DEA once called his empire financially untouchable, a phrase that still circulates internally like a reluctant admission of defeat. This wasn't evolution, it was reinvention. Lucas Jr. stripped away the flashy street image that destroyed his father and rebuilt organized crime into a corporate machine disguised as legitimate business. His operation runs like a Fortune 500 company, but instead of selling electronics or luxury goods, it distributes poisons, pills, and powders that destroy families faster than any economic collapse. And unlike legal corporations bound by regulation, Lucas Jr.'s profits are multiplied by blood. Federal investigators discovered the scale of his empire through wiretaps. Agents heard Lucas Jr. casually talk about moving 50 daily. They assumed he meant weight in product. Months later, they realized 50 meant $50 million every 24 hours. One task force commander reportedly smashed his coffee mug against a wall when he learned the truth. Seasoned agents, men who had dismantled Miami cartels and Colombian smuggling rings, admitted they had never seen wealth like this. Lucas Jr.'s daily revenue surpasses the GDP of small nations. In a week, he earns more than major corporations make in a fiscal quarter. This isn't just drug dealing, it's economic warfare against the United States. His empire drains communities dry while funneling billions into offshore accounts the government can't reach. The money trail spans the globe. Cryptocurrency exchanges in Estonia, real estate in Miami and Los Angeles, offshore accounts hidden in secrecy havens. His network thrives because it's layered, each shell company protecting another, creating a fortress of paperwork that could take decades to unravel. Lucas Jr. also owns 17 legitimate businesses that double as massive laundering fronts. His most profitable venture is a national luxury car dealership chain. Every Ferrari, Lamborghini, or Bugatti sold might represent $10 million in drug money transformed into spotless corporate revenue. Behind this empire stands a workforce of professionals, not street thugs, but accountants, consultants, and financial experts with Ivy League degrees. They prepare tax returns, optimize profits, and file quarterly reports, all while their income is funded by death. To them, murder is just another expense. Inside his boardrooms, PowerPoint slides analyze drug logistics, spreadsheets measure laundering efficiency, strategy meetings focus not on market expansion, but on how to flood neighborhoods with opioids without drawing federal attention. It's organized crime with the precision of Silicon Valley, streamlined, data-driven, and terrifying. What makes Lucas Jr. truly untouchable isn't just wealth or intelligence, it's politics. He learned from his father's mistakes that flaunting wealth brings exposure. Gone are the mink coats and diamonds. Instead, he appears as a political donor, funneling millions into campaigns through shell corporations. Federal records show over $2.3 million in political contributions tied to his network in the past decade. Many politicians likely have no idea who's really funding them. When law enforcement gets close, phone calls are made from high offices, investigations are reassigned, files disappear from secure vaults. This isn't mere bribery, it's institutional capture. The system itself bends to protect him. Lucas Jr. has built a corporation of crime shielded by politics, powered by violence, and legitimized by finance. Among law enforcement, he has earned another name, the Ghost. Former DEA agent Marcus Thompson once said, He leaves $50 million footprints, but never shows his face. No public photo of him has surfaced since 2019. Yet his empire keeps expanding across borders, feeding on America's addiction crisis and eroding every safeguard meant to stop it. His invisibility is deliberate. He avoids nightclubs, social media, and public extravagance. His fortune exists in locked accounts and anonymous corporations. When federal drones tried tracking him in the Caribbean, they found only decoys, identical SUVs, false boats, and stand-in occupants. Lucas Jr. surrounds himself with private security forces that rival small national militaries, former Navy SEALs, cyber experts, encryption specialists. His compounds feature biometric locks, Faraday-shielded rooms, and rotating guard teams with military-grade weapons. His annual security budget exceeds the defense spending of several Caribbean nations. His family lives far from the devastation that funds their lifestyle. His children attend elite schools in Switzerland, studying philosophy and politics, while teenagers in Detroit and Baltimore die from the drugs that sustain their trust funds. Each $50 million day is another cycle of destruction, another overdose, another family shattered. Every Bugatti sold through his dealerships is matched by a headstone somewhere in America. Prosecutors who try to take him down find their cases collapsing. Evidence disappears, witnesses retract statements, agents are reassigned. Some whisper about intimidation, others suspect deeper corruption. Lucas Jr. has mastered political investment. While his father flaunted wealth, he buys influence quietly through PACS, shell companies, and charitable fronts. Politicians receive clean donations that, in truth, are soaked in drug money. Once in office, they pass laws and make decisions that indirectly protect his empire. The logistics of his operation rival global corporations. Distribution centers in New York move product faster than Amazon. West Coast ports synchronize smuggling with air and shipping routes to ensure constant supply. Over 3,000 people, some knowingly, others unknowingly, work across his legitimate and criminal fronts. Harvard-trained analysts improve efficiency, unaware they're optimizing murder economics. What makes him untouchable is the fusion of wealth, secrecy, and force. He is invisible yet everywhere. His fingerprints on overdose statistics, prison reports, and corrupted court cases. Federal estimates place his net worth at $2.88 billion, exceeding most Fortune 500 CEOs. But unlike them, his fortune is built on despair. Every dollar is a monument to a ruined life. His empire doesn't whisper, it screams across America's prisons, hospitals, and graveyards. Frank Lucas Jr. has proven one terrifying truth. In the United States, enough money doesn't just buy power, it buys immunity. And his operation isn't isolated. Lucas Jr. is part of a global shadow economy. To understand his scale, you must see him among peers like Matteo Messina Denaro, the ghost of Sicily, who ruled Italy's underworld for decades, while laundering hundreds of millions through construction, renewable energy, and agriculture. These empires look legitimate, employ thousands, and feed their families on blood money. Organized crime has evolved. It's no longer confined to streets and gangs. It's a parallel economy that rivals the legitimate one. And Frank Lucas Jr. is its American face. By the time authorities finally captured him in 2023, he was living openly under a false identity, receiving cancer treatment in a Sicilian clinic and reading newspapers that featured his own wanted posters. To the locals, he was just another patient. To investigators, he was a financial mastermind whose operations had humiliated European banks that unknowingly processed billions of dollars in cartel money. The lesson was chilling. Like Frank Lucas Jr., Mateo Messina Denaro proved that invisibility is the most effective weapon. A criminal who avoids the spotlight can endure far longer than one who craves it. Shift to Mexico and the scale becomes even greater. Ismael El Mayo Zambada, patriarch of the Sinaloa cartel, built an estimated $15 billion fortune without ever spending a day in prison. At 75, he remains one of the last old-school cartel leaders, and his wealth flows constantly like mountain rivers that never stop. His operations eclipse even those of Lucas Jr., moving roughly $80 million worth of narcotics across the U.S.-Mexico border each day. Once his cocaine, heroin, and fentanyl reach American streets, profits often exceed $200 million daily. Mayo doesn't just smuggle drugs, he owns every stage of the supply chain. From Afghan poppy fields to Colombian processing labs, from Mexican transport routes to American distribution hubs, his network is vertically integrated in a way that would impress any Fortune 500 executive. Unlike flashy cartel figures who build palaces of gold, Mayo channels billions into legitimate industries. His ranches supply beef to grocery stores. His agricultural cooperatives sustain entire regions. His construction firms build hospitals funded with money earned from addiction and death. His greatest strength lies in politics. Instead of bribing individuals, he bankrolls entire movements. Hundreds of millions flow through shadow networks so intricate that political candidates may never realize their campaigns are financed by cartel funds. When governments change, his influence adapts, like water finding new cracks in stone. The cost is catastrophic. In 2022 alone, over 70,000 overdose deaths in the United States were linked directly to his fentanyl empire. More American deaths in 1 year than many wars have caused. While morgues overflow, his bank accounts grow, accumulating interest faster than families can bury their dead. Then there is India, where Dawood Ibrahim transformed organized crime into something more dangerous, a state-sponsored enterprise. His empire, valued at $6.7 billion, goes beyond narcotics. He became a financier of terrorism. The 1993 Bombay bombings, which killed 257 people and injured more than 1,400, were not just acts of terror. They were his declaration that crime had merged with geopolitics. From then on, his organization expanded beyond drugs and arms trafficking to influence international conflicts. Dawood's operations span heroin smuggling, counterfeit currency, weapons sales, and human trafficking. Intelligence agencies describe his network as a multinational corporation with assassination schedules instead of quarterly reports. His legitimate portfolio includes Bollywood film production and real estate developments, yet every profit margin is built on blood. Protected by elements of the Pakistani state, Dawood lives in a fortified Karachi compound equipped with military-grade defenses. India's extradition requests are ignored, even though global intelligence agencies know his precise location. Placed beside Lucas Jr., these figures reveal the terrifying scope of modern organized crime. The common denominator isn't violence, it's sophistication. Today's criminal empires wear suits, file tax returns, and invest in legitimate industries. They operate through contracts, shell corporations, and offshore accounts instead of guns and street corners. Lucas Jr. embodied judges, referees, and officials, became pieces in a global scheme that turned sports into a front for profit. The results were devastating. Rigged matches, manipulated scores, and even Olympic host selections were corrupted by his network. Meanwhile, ordinary communities collapsed under addiction and poverty. Prisons filled with small-time dealers while the true kingpins remained untouchable. Hospitals overflowed with overdose victims. draining public funds while Lucas Jr.'s revenues continue to grow offshore. The cycle sustains itself. Despair creates demand. Demand fuels profit. Profit buys protection. Protection ensures expansion. No president can stop him because politics moves in election cycles. But Lucas Jr. operates on a timeline of generations. Presidents change. His empire endures. Law enforcement budgets rise and fall. His revenue never falters. By the time new laws are written, his accountants have already found the next loophole. And so the nightmare continues. $50 million every 24 hours. A ghost no camera can capture. An empire that merges Wall Street's precision with street-level brutality. A system where money doesn't whisper, it roars, drowning out every attempt at justice. Frank Lucas Jr. represents the darkest truth of modern America, that with enough wealth, influence becomes immunity. No administration, no agency, no government can dismantle a system this vast. His empire isn't just a story of crime, it's a story of corruption so deep that it reshapes the very system meant to contain it. Unless that system is rebuilt from the ground up, Frank Lucas Jr. will remain untouchable, the Black Mafia boss whose fortune dwarfs nations and whose power outlives presidents. The human toll of his empire stretches far beyond profits. Families bury children lost to overdoses. Communities collapse under the weight of addiction and violence. Schools empty while prisons overflow. His billions don't just corrupt governments, they destroy futures, turning once hopeful cities into markets of despair. This isn't organized crime, it's organized devastation, building wealth faster than hope can recover.